Dr. Ali Gabas has again been remanded into prison on the charges of unnatural canal knowledge and defilement, both of which are, according to the court, are unbailable crimes. The victim, whose name has still been withheld, could not appear in court as he still received treatment at an undisclosed location. The court ruled that there is no guarantee that if granted bail, the accused would not interfere with the trial. The court subsequently remanded the accused to the Nsawam prison with the hope that when trial resumes on the 6th of January 2015, the victim, who has been given a week to recuperate, would be fit enough to appear in court. Joy News' investigation uncovered the activities of the game medical doctor. Dr. Sule Ali Gabas, a senior medical officer at Efiankwanta Regional Hospital in Takoradi, is said to have had anal sex with a 16-year-old senior secondary school student who has now been diagnosed of HIV/AIDS. Dr. Sule Ali Gabas is facing 2 counts of defilement and having unnatural canal knowledge of the alleged victim, contrary to sections of the Criminal Code. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Meanwhile, a human rights and a public interest lawyer, Francis Xavier Kujo Sosu, believes the court's ruling is in the right direction, as there is no guarantee the accused would not tamper with the trial if granted bail.
A welcome decision because, as we are all aware, under Section 96(7) of the Criminal Procedure Code, in circumstances like this, bail must be denied. Especially when the court thinks that there may be a likelihood of the accused person interfering with the proceedings. And in this case, we all understand that the victim for whom we are watching, we are holding a watching brief, is currently not fully fit, and the medical doctor has given 1 week. But the court is of the view that we cannot be very certain what the review might be after 1 week. So at least coming back on the 6th of January will be more reasonable. So I believe that it is in the right direction, and we just hope that on the 6th of January when we return, there will be opportunity for us to continue with the cross-examination so we can have expeditious trial of the matter.
So can you tell us the situation with the young boy as of now?
He is doing well. He is responding to treatment. As we are all aware, he hasn't been fully fit even before the start of the trial. Okay. So it is just normal that after having gone through some series of hearing, he just has a little relapse, which is being treated now. We believe that the next agenda, he should be fully fit so we can go on with the trial.
Okay. But the defense counsel made a strong case that the accused has a permanent place of residence, and so if granted bail, there's no way he's going to bolt or something, but then the courts deem it right to still deny the bail. What's your initial comment about that?
Bail is a discretionary remedy. The court should be convinced that the accused person would come back to stand for trial, and the accused person would not interfere with the trial when it is granted. But most importantly, there are cases where bail must be refused, and the only reason why you may grant bail in those circumstances, for example, this is a defilement matter, bail is supposed to be denied. The only basis for bail may be Article 14, where there has been unreasonable delay in the trial of the matter. But as everyone would attest to, there has been a expeditious trial, except that the health conditions of the victim has led to a little skirmishes here. But we believe that at the next agenda, it will be available to continue. So under these circumstances, I believe that the judge or the court did the right thing by refusing bail at this instance.
Head of Policy and Partnership at Water Aid Ghana, Ibrahim Musa, says government must commit more financial resources to tackle issue of sanitation. Speaking on the AM show on Thursday, Ibrahim Musa noted Parliament must also lobby government for more resources to be made available.
In the 2015 budget that is currently before Parliament and being debated by our respectable members of Parliament, we are saying that, look, they should, as a matter of agency, scrutinize our sanitation budget allocation, because we think that at this moment the budget for sanitation is scanty. Sanitation, it is not a palatable situation as captured now in the budget, and so we respectfully call on our members of parliament to ensure that, look, the sanitation component of the 2015 budget is relooked to. Otherwise, in 2015, the story of cholera in 2014 will be revisited on Ghana, and that
doubled,
and that will be a big shame to us. For him to also take a critical look at the GLASS report and our national sanitation policies. Beyond the GLASS report, we have our National Sanitation Policy 2010, where government also make laudable, commitments to fund the sanitation and hygiene, subsector. We respectfully call on him to lobby Parliament to ensure that the needed resources are given to this 2015 budget for sanitation. We are saying that from the scanty figures that we have, they need, because the budget is saying that there are some allocations that are hidden in some departments and agencies somewhere. And sometimes in the process of debating and all that, some of those departments that put those budgets under their jurisdiction for sanitation and hygiene, if they do not prioritize it, it may even end up being removed. And so scrutinizing each and every department that has some bit or remit over sanitation is very important. And pulling it together and ensuring that if even it is there, who knows, maybe even members of parliament can even call for an increase.
The Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, has released its first pre-election environment observation report on the upcoming 2015 District Assembly and Unit Committee elections, indicating that there is high public apathy towards the elections. It also said civil society and community-based organizations organized very few activities in support of the local government elections. The coalition's report that enhancing citizen participation in the upcoming local government elections, deepening Ghana's decentralization process. According to CODEO, the Electoral Commission has begun recruiting temporary staff, while the National Commission for Civic Education is on sensitization campaign. CODEO added that aspiring candidates for the elections have started campaigning for votes even before they officially become candidates. In October, CODEO deployed 86 long-term pre-election observers to 86 elected districts throughout the country to observe and report on the general electoral environment and activities of stakeholders ahead of the elections. The report, which captures observations made in October and November, is based on bi-weekly reports filed by the coalition's pre-election observers from all the 86 elected project districts. I have been joined online by the Dean of Studies at the Institute of Local Government Studies, Eric Oduro-Sain, to talk about local elections and local government. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon, madam.
Are you surprised by the low publicity and enthusiasm towards local government elections?
I am not surprised, because as far back as June, July, this issue was raised about the voter apathy, about the inconsistent nature of the local government elections, and the way the Electoral Commission is not forthcoming with the date for the election. And I am also not surprised, because there were a number of issues that were raised during the last 4 years local government election, which remains unresolved. One of the issues had to do with the need to set up an inter-ministerial committee on local elections, made up of the NCCE, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and the Electoral Commission. This has not been done. We all noticed that the previous election was organized in a two-phase approach, and the Electoral Commission was encouraged not to do that again. Parliament commissioned a committee to investigate into why that happened. The report was submitted. The Electoral Commission has not acted on the report. There were a number of issues that were raised by the election petitions, which went to the Supreme Court, which requires the Electoral Commission to do something about it. The Electoral Commission has not done that. Up until today, the Electoral Commission has not come up with a firm date on which the elections will be conducted. I am not surprised, and I think the Electoral Commission should step up its effort, because the local government elections is one of the best elections that brings governance closer to the people. Aside that, Ghana as a country, we don't have any midterm elections. It is the local government elections that is used to test the preparedness of the nation towards the upcoming general elections in 2016. So Electoral Commission will have to step up its efforts in making sure that the sensitization is increased. They link with National Commission for Civic Education, and then be sure that the right things are done. One thing that is also disturbing, which I will have to mention, is that in the 2015 budget that was submitted to Parliament, the budget for Electoral Commission has been reduced, and nobody seems to understand why it has reduced. The Electoral Commission should step up its efforts at sensitizing the citizens so that the upcoming district level elections will be a success.
Are you indirectly blaming the local government and the Electoral Commission for this issue, for this problem?
Well, I am not blaming the local government. If I have any blame, I will blame the Electoral Commission for not coming out with a clear timetable. Because if they come out with a clear timetable, all the other agencies, like the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development and the National Commission for Civic Education, as well as the NGOs and civil society organizations, will pick up this advanced timetable and then run with it by sensitizing the people. The Electoral Commission should, as a matter of urgency, publish a timetable on when and how the elections will be conducted, so that all other agencies would use that one in their sensitization and campaign messages.
Looking at how things are going, should we allow political parties to actively take part as a way of boosting patronage?
Well, at the moment, our election laws does not allow that. But from the way things are going, I am of the view that we should allow political parties to sponsor candidates. And once we open up that one, then we should go ahead to elect chief executives. Because if we don't do that, and we leave everything to Electoral Commission, an important election like local government elections, which test how far we have come as a nation in terms of local democracy, would be organized in a manner that is not the best for this country.
Would you agree with persons who think the local government elections should be shifted to the same day as we have the presidential and parliamentary elections?
No, I would disagree with that, because the presidential and the parliamentary election, it always puts a lot of pressure on the nation. Aside that, it doesn't then give prominence to the local government level elections, because local level elections are totally different from parliamentary and then the presidential election. So I would disagree with those who say we should do that on the same day. We should separate it, but we should give the local government elections same prominence as we give to parliamentary and presidential elections.
Let me take you to a sanitation issue. Some months back, cholera broke in Ghana with some 100 and about that 50 deaths, and about 16,000 cases were also reported. Now we have the National Sanitation Day on the first Saturday of every month. Has the local assemblies failed in their mandate regarding sanitation, hence the need to institute the National Sanitation Day?
Well, I think it is yes and no. The local governments are doing their bit, but they need a little push. So the institutionalization of the National Sanitation Day is a step in the right direction to upscale and then give a push to the local government on what they are doing. But they can do more, because most of the local governments are given the powers to come up with bylaws to prosecute sanitation offenders. But most of the local governments are not doing this as required. So I agree with you along the line that they have not set up their game when it comes to environmental sanitation. But I think the institutionalization of the National Sanitation Day is a step in the right direction that will push the local government to step up their game when it comes to environmental issues.
Thank you so much. All right, sir. So we were talking to Eric Odro Osai. He is the Dean of Studies at the Institute of Local Government Studies at the University of Ghana, Legon. Well, let's cross over to Parliament, where the House is continuing its debate on 2015 budget, and my colleague Aisha Ibrahim is there, and she joins us on phone. Hello, Aisha.
Hello, Gladys.
How are you today?
Very well, Gladys.
So the House is debating on education with free SHS starting in 2015. What are both sides saying?
Well, usually, the majority will support the 2015 budget, but the key issues were that the 2015 budget provides a lot more for education. One thing I was happy about was that the Minister for Education admitted that, yes, there are challenges in the education sector, but she's also quick to add that the mere fact that this year alone, government has been able to improve on vocational education. And she also talks about the free SHS, which the government is almost completing 50 secondary schools, which the question the minority asks is whether we even know where the foundation of those schools are. But she mentioned some districts where you could find those ones. And she also talks about 120 schools that are going to be given quality improvement or that are going to be refurbished. And so she says that the mere fact that government has been able to put these things in place, she thinks it's a plus, and she feels that in the 2015 budget, a lot more will be done to improve on education. But one of the disheartening issues that was raised, especially from the minority side, is that in this era, we're still faced with school and the trees. And that is what they do not feel comfortable about. And they feel that the 2015 budget has no provision to even tackle those ones. But the Minister of Education again says that there has been a lot of improvement in that field, and that her ministry is doing a lot more to ensure that there's generally improvement in the education sector. And she's also talking about support for day students, and that if they're going to be free SHS, especially for boarding students, for day students, what government is going to do is that government is going to absorb their exams fees, and I think most of the fees for their books, and I think tuition fee is also part of it. So government is going to absorb about 80% of the fees that day students are paying. So basically, it's going to be almost free for even day students. And so we're hoping that in 2015, we'll get a lot more in the education sector. One other thing that is tabled for discussion, which discussion hasn't started yet, is the the report of the ad hoc committee of the code on the code of conduct for members of parliament. For some time now there have been questions about how well a member of parliament should conduct himself in parliament and outside parliament. And so this report actually seeks to provide guidelines as to how members of parliament should conduct themselves. And so we're looking forward to some interesting debates when it gets to that report, Gladys.
All right. Thank you so much, Aisha, for that update from Parliament.